Well, hello to all you popcorn talkers, and welcome to another episode of Second Way to Kill a Werewolf. My name is Damien, and with me as always is my co-host, Matthias. Here we go again, Rodriguez. Matthias, how the hell are you doing today, man? And for anybody wondering, this is our second attempt at recording this for some reason, or third attempt realistically. I don't know what happened, but even in the future, nothing works. What can I say? That said, Matthias, for the 87th time, how are you doing today?
We're doing good. We have fun. Things happen when we record and all that stuff. Guys, it's not always perfect 100%. If that was it, then we probably would have been churning out, a million episodes by now. But stuff happens, and it keeps it fresh, I guess you could say. But I'm doing just fine. Damien, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm getting over it because, it's technology. What can I say? That said, if this is your first time joining us, let me tell you a little bit about what to expect. We are a podcast dedicated to covering all things pop culture in movies, TV shows, and pretty much anything that's streaming that grabs our attention. Throughout the show, we'll bring up some topics, lend our voices to opinions, and hopefully that will lead to engaging with you all in the future on our social media platform on Instagram and TikTok at Second Way to Kill a Werewolf, where we encourage you to post any comments or questions that you may have about the show. Also, if you happen to be listening to this on Spotify, be sure to give us a 5-star review and drop us a comment about the episode while you're at it. We want to hear the voices of the Second Way listeners. Now, with all that out of the way, normally we jump right into the popcorn talk, but we're slowly trying to adopt a new little segment here called What Have We Been Watching? And with regards to that, what have I been watching to start us off? Well, the first thing that I would say is what I had been watching was the disappointing outcome of the San Antonio Spurs losing to the stupid New York Knicks. Yes, I'm a sore loser. I was really hoping that the Spurs were gonna pull this one out, but unfortunately they couldn't keep the lead that they were able to maintain 72% of the series, apparently, because of there's that statistic going around. But at the end of the day, they brought me back in because I hadn't really been watching Spurs games for a while. If I'm being completely honest, probably since the last era. It's just, I'm still a fan. I wasn't rooting for another team in the meantime. I wasn't going for LA or, God, no, not LA or any other team or Miami or OKC, no other team at all. I was always, if anybody asked me, who's your team? Spurs. That's all there is to it. And with that, it makes it a little disappointing to see them make it as far as they did and then end up, just coming up short, especially to New York with all the situations that were going on and all the attacks on some of the Spurs fans out there that was totally uncalled for. It should never come to that, honestly. But, people should be able to wear the jersey that they want and go cheer for their team and vice versa, whether in San Antonio or whether in New York. But that's done, and hopefully we can all go back to peaceful visits, I don't know, and not have to worry about things like that. But next year, we'll see what happens. Hopefully the Spurs come back and they can make it to the finals again. It's not a guarantee. Maybe that's going to be the big lesson from this loss, is realizing that, making it to the finals is never promised. It's never written in the stars 100%, It's, I think, one of those things that you learn, especially as a rookie coming into the season, because some of these guys are so young that it's their first season, I think. I don't know. I think Dylan Harper is 20 years old, and he made it all the way to the finals for the championship. I'm not saying, one way or the other as far as what his mindset is, but for coming in and making it as far as you did, and realizing how good you all are, it kind of could be taken for granted that, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll be back next year. Maybe, hopefully, we'll see. But as far as what I've been watching, other than the NBA games, I watched a little film called The Strangers Chapter 2. I don't recommend it. I only did it because I watched the first one and I just needed to see it through. Part 3, I'm still looking at you. Probably this weekend. But yeah, part 2, it's going to come as no surprise to anybody. The movie was not good. At the end of the day, they ended up needing to bring a brush with nature to add some sort of extra element to this movie in terms of survival, because evidently having 3 serial killers hunt you wasn't enough. They had to include a boar that came and attacked the girl that was running for her life, which I don't know. I was like, why? Why do you even need this? Did it add something to the movie? Sure, but it just to me it seemed desperate. It's like, okay, we're running out of something. And considering how this movie ended, I have no idea if part 3, chapter 3, is going to be better or worse. Because if it's worse than what I just saw, that puts it right up there in Mandy territory, man. Let me tell you.
Ooh, wow. Those are fighting words.
Mandy, for those of you who don't know, was this not the song by what's his face from the 70s. I feel bad. Golly, it's gonna be killing me. Barry Manilow?
Barry Manilow.
Right? Okay, yeah, Barry Manilow. Great talent, not knocking him on anything like that, but Mandy was the song by him, and I'm not talking about that song. I'm talking about a movie that Nicolas Cage starred in that was about this post-apocalyptic world that just sucked. I turned it on and I was like, okay, let me check this one out. And I forced myself to do that movie because I have that mentality. How you do anything is how you do everything. And I finish what I start, no matter the cost, which was my time in that place. And my time is precious. Not really. My time is just, whatever I want to put it towards. But that said, I was disappointed with I was going to say It Chapter 2. I was disappointed with The Strangers Chapter 2. I'll probably be very disappointed with The Strangers Chapter 3. But I'm going to check it out anyways. And that tops off what I've been watching. Matthias, what about you, man? What have you been watching?
Yeah, I mean, in between World Cup matches and all that stuff, which there's usually about 3 or 4 every single day now for this week, all the way until the end of July. So that's been my main thing. There was a match the other night, Argentina versus Algeria. Argentina ended up winning 3-0. So as you can see, I'm wearing the colors of Argentina right now. So the white and the blue. So that's one thing there for those who can see us at home. but that's one thing. Yeah, But the other thing that has been kind of occupying my time in between that has been a little show called Widow's Bay that is on Apple TV. It's very much inspired by, if you've seen anything from Mike Flanagan, so anything like The Haunting of Hill House, Midnight Mass, it definitely has a lot of those elements in the show here, to where you're focusing on this New England town that has some sort of, supernatural secret behind it. And there's a reporter that is coming in to do a news segment on it, because the whole purpose of the town is to also try to bring in tourists as well too. So in that process of trying to kind of figure that out as to like, what are the elements of Widow's Bay that could attract, outsiders, there's, intrigue and mystery and scary, spooky stuff in it as well too. So I think it's honestly really great programming from Apple TV. I think we talked about it at length before in other episodes about Apple TV sort of being an up-and-comer now and kind of really doing some really great, curated programming now. So, I mean, hats off to them. But this one is very much like one of my kind of like new favorites in terms of shows right now. Damien, I don't think you've catched this just yet, right?
No, I haven't checked it out. The moment you said supernatural element, I was hooked, and I have been debating about whether to resubscribe to Apple TV just to catch the Monarch Legacy of Monsters series season 2 that came out, that I'm pretty sure all episodes are probably now streaming by now. But now having this, actually, quick question. Are these episodes weekly, or are they all out, or what episode?
Well, this show came out about, I think, at the start of May.
Oh,
and they're all out at this point. So if you want to jump into it now, yes, you can. But it was coming out. It was an episodic kind of thing that was happening. So, but luckily, you don't have to wait. So for anybody who has yet to watch it, like yourself, Damien, you can jump right into the full, I think it's 10 episodes that are available.
Oh, great. Honestly, maybe I'll just do that tonight. The other thing I forgot to mention. Okay, I want to take my answer back. I was like, what the hell have I been watching? I started watching that show, the Burrows on Netflix, the other Duffer Brothers series. I think it's called the Burrows. It's called the Burrows.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
It has I always remember his last name, Molina.
Alfred.
Played Yes, Alfred. I don't know what I was gonna say. I don't know what I was gonna say. It's not important. But Alfred Molina has Gina Davis, Bill Pullman, pretty good cast actually. And Gina Davis, I'm telling you, man, she doesn't age. She really doesn't. She just looks she's an ageless beauty, I guess, as it were, because she looked almost exactly the same as I remember her in some other movies. Maybe not quite. What is it? Beetlejuice. Man, that was a long time ago for anybody. Time is undefeated. You're going to see some changes regardless, but definitely, I'm sure, probably doesn't drink and probably is a vegetarian if I had to guess these days. Because I mean, geez, what can I say? Not me though. I could never. I enjoy a good steak and I enjoy a good burger more than anything. So hats off to you for going that route if that's your cause, which I totally 100% respect. But yeah, this series is good. It's better than I thought it was going to be. I don't want to say anything because I feel like I might spoil it if I say the wrong thing. And this is a series that's still fairly fresh out on Netflix. So I feel it's one of those things that people might be like, oh yeah, I was going to get around to that eventually. And then maybe if you happen to be listening to the series and I'm like, so then what happens is I'd probably just ruin your day. So I'm not going to do that. And if that's you, you better hurry up and start watching it because you've been warned. That said, I haven't even finished it. So there you go. It's good. It's good enough to want to keep watching it, but not quite good enough to be like, oh man, what happens next? I got to hit the next episode. So it's good. I think personally it's worth the watch. If you like that, I don't want to say, I guess, I don't know if supernatural element is the way to describe this, but it definitely is. Man, I really want to be careful about what I say here because it kind of gives things away. So I'm just going to say, if you enjoy, I'll say supernatural, sure, why not, for the sake of it. If you enjoy things like that, how about that? Then I think that you'll enjoy this series. And I don't know, I think it's something you might actually enjoy as well, Matthias. So I'm interested to get your feedback if and when you ever start watching that. It's a fun watch. Yeah, it's a fun watch overall. But speaking of Netflix, well, Netflix, you done it again. You're in the news, but not because you are lowering prices. God forbid. God forbid you should ever lower the prices. Let's just keep raising them. No, you're in the news because you didn't quite make the deal with Warner Brothers, which would have been pretty cool. I never thought I'd live in a world where I was actually rooting for Netflix to take ownership of Warner Brothers, but I was for a brief minute because it was the lesser of two evils. The number one answer I wanted was Warner Brothers to stay independent. That clearly wasn't going to be happen because there was money on the table to be had. And ipso facto, to quote, what's his name? Ben Stiller's character from Dodgeball. It ended up going through, or it's going through right now as far as the sale to Paramount with Warner Brothers. And unfortunately, they aren't staying independent. That said, Netflix, even though they were all about theatrical releases when this was coming to mind with Ted Sarandos saying all of this, apparently their new Netflix film chief, Dan Lin, who took the place of where's my notes here? Stuber, last name Stuber, first name not there.
Stuber.
Yeah. I just yeah, that's a good save. Scott Stuber. Jeez. Well, I feel Scott stupid right now because I couldn't remember the name. It's right there. Anyways, yeah. So the previous Netflix film chief was Scott Stuber, who was a bit more in favor of having theatrical windows. Dan Lin is basically saying no. Pretty much not in favor of theatrical windows, to the point where he's really just saying he doesn't want to work with filmmakers who insist on theatrical first releases, which, if memory serves correct, I don't know, last I heard that kind of helps with everything. having a movie release in theaters and then coming back to be announced as a release on Netflix, ideally is going to be something that you want to cash in on. It's almost like yes, you're paying money, but I mean, it's almost a form of marketing if you're a streaming service. It's an interesting way to look at it, actually, to look at the movie really being released in theaters as a marketing ploy for the streaming service. But if you're all about the streaming, if you have a big enough release, people are going to want to subscribe to your service to watch that movie. And if you ended up being where big movies like this will eventually make it to streaming, then you're kind of reinventing yourself and capturing newer audiences that have heard of Christopher Nolan, have heard of Guillermo del Toro, and are hearing that, oh, wow, they're going to be making movies for Netflix that are going to have a theatrical run. It gets a wide enough news release, people are going to be covering a little bit more, and then it ends up becoming a bigger deal when it finally transitions to Netflix. Not unlike the same concept of movies in theaters and then making their way to Blockbuster Video or HEB Video back in the day, or Hollywood Video, or Pop and Go, or let's see how many I can name. All of these different names of video stores back then that were able to turn that business into a huge cash cow back then. Of course, that's until streaming came and ended all of that, Netflix specifically, and was able to take the movie release and then take it even further. Now with Netflix, I don't know. I kind of feel like with news like this, you're digging your heels into the ground, not willing to change and to adapt. And it kind of rings a little bit of Blockbuster, which is ironic because Blockbuster had the opportunity to purchase Netflix, and they chose not to, thinking, this will never catch on. People love to pay our late fees, and then wait and then get to the Blockbuster and then see that your movie's checked out and hope and pray that somebody returned it mysteriously. And that, even though that was pretty cool, because when you went to rent your movie and you saw it wasn't there, and you went to see for the recently returned movies and it was there, it was a sense of accomplishment and victory. That said, I don't want to go back to those days. I kind of like being able to stream. That's a pretty cool thing as well. But the reason I say that they're not willing to adapt is because we're starting to see changes, everyone. We're starting to see theaters with more business going their way, as we talked about on the last episode, with the month of May being one of the biggest since, I think, 17, 19, something like that, since a while back, that they saw a huge increase in audiences going to the movies, primarily driven by young adults and Gen Z. Millennials will probably follow suit as well. So with that happening and more people going to theatrical, and I think if prices continue to go, people are going to be that much more motivated to just cut the stream or whatever it would be, whatever it's like. Back then it was cut the cord, but now I guess, I don't know, cut the stream. Is this a wise choice on Netflix to take such a huge stance on, we're not going to really prioritize theatrical release first directors. We're going to go ahead and stick with just our streaming data. I don't know. What say you, Matthias?
Yeah, I mean, we reported, in our last episode, a lot of stuff about how you're seeing, this new generation focus on going to the theaters and seeing movies and seeing, a good variety of movies nowadays as well, too. So it seems like the people's idea of how they want to sort of engage with entertainment has changed. Streaming services are numerous now. There's a whole bunch of them that you can, tap into, but they're also getting more and more expensive, and the quality of what's available isn't necessarily, it's not a monolith. There's some areas to where they struggle very, very much in terms of what programming they have, and some are doing, really great shows and having more curated projects in, currently showing and then in the pipeline to where they're more desirable here. But what I hear from Dan Lin, I hear just that sort of kind of sense of stubbornness that I kind of really come to find with a lot of like chairmen and CEOs and all that stuff of these streaming companies, is that they are not seeing the bigger picture. They are very much kind of focused and really thinking about how insular the streaming service that they're a part of is. And they're seeing, okay, well, all we care about is just our streaming service. And there's nothing else that's going on that really matters to us. Even though it is very blatant and apparent that, yeah, people are wanting more diverse forms of entertainment, and they are going to the movies for that because it seems like Hollywood is starting to take a chance on these very small or unknown directors or people that essentially have started out as YouTubers or as sort of like small form film directors, and then there's like, hey, let's give you a decent budget, let's get some actors there for you in there, and let's see what you can do. And in the case of Kane Parsons and God, I can't think of the other guy's name right now. Kane
Clay
Parsons,
Parsons.
yes, and yeah, in the case of them, they are producing some awesome stuff, and it's showing up in ticket sales and how people are kind of interacting with their projects, online as well too. So I think in the end, it's going to be something that this whole idea of them not wanting to just have their projects in actual cinemas, and I think it's going to end up biting them in the ass in the long run. And it also makes you think as well too, considering I think the next project Netflix has in the pipeline is Greta Gerwig's Narnia film. Does
Mm-hmm.
that mean now that we have Dan Lin, as the chairman for this, is he gonna, go back on that? Is it gonna be, hey, I know we told you this, but guess what? Things are changing now. This is just gonna go straight to streaming. And I think there's gonna be things like that we'll see where there might be some unannounced projects to where all of a sudden they're making changes and saying, hey, we're not going to show your film, in theaters, that there's going to be a lot more filmmakers that are going to be like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to take my project somewhere else and I'm going to see like who else is actually going to, fund my project and who's going to actually, give me the time of day. Cause yeah, business is booming for theaters so far. It's not perfect business, but it is showing a growth and interest and it's sort of reforming now. And I think that's what's important.
For a person that I would assume values data quite a bit, especially when it comes to streaming and whatnot, I would venture to guess that he's going to follow this trend very closely. So maybe in the future, we do see him kind of from what I gather, he's saying that they're going to have basically more of a selective theatrical release type of thing. So I think to respond to your remark earlier about Greta Gerwig's film, I don't see them taking that away because I feel like that might cause problems in the long run for them and whatever deal that they had. That said, I don't think that in this era that sort of deal does exist going forward. I don't know if they would have gone. I mean, I say that, and okay, maybe not. The only reason is because it's Greta Gerwig, and she's coming off of her huge victory with Barbie being $1 billion film. So where they see money, they might see potential. Maybe they'd be willing to bend the knee in terms of that for getting her, because her name attached to this film, and is as a movie as big as the Narnia films, which I don't know how much sway they really carry these days, but to have her name attached to it and then eventually the movie theater and then move it to Netflix, that's going to draw some attention. And that goes back to what I was saying, is that theatrical releases can work with your streaming service. I don't know how much the costs would come and if the streaming, the subscribers would increase because of it, but I'd be willing to guess yes, more than what they're doing now. Because number one, they're not really advertising the movies that they put out there. Like I said, I mean, I can't even name some of these movies that have come out because they're just, I don't think people look to Netflix and see the next big movie that comes out as enough motivation to want to see it. People need that extra push. And by that, it's going to the theaters or having it in theaters because it's just looked at as more prestigious than a movie that you're like, oh, it's on streaming. I guess I'll get it eventually. And if that's how people are that have your service already, what's that going to say about people that don't have your service that probably didn't hear about it because the only people that hear about it are the ones that have Netflix? You hear about it because it made a big deal and it got released in theaters. So without that, it's difficult to say, hey, yeah, come watch our movie. It's like, well, what movie? How are you advertising it? Like, I don't really, I'm all into movies and movie news and all that fun stuff. And I never get any feeds really for Netflix saying, hey, come, like, have you seen this yet or anything? So what's that going to say for general audiences?
Mm-hmm.
And as far as I think what could benefit them more with Dan Lin is he shouldn't be saying that he doesn't want to work with filmmakers who insist on theatrical first releases. And the reason I say that is because we're shifting right now. I feel we're in the middle of a shift to moving back to theaters gaining the power that they once had. And with that comes more renowned directors putting out works out there that are going to draw attention. And if they're drawing attention and getting that kind of publicity, then they're getting publicity for the movies that they're putting out, be it flop or not, or success. And the way that you generate more eyes to your streaming service is you work with that publicity and have it work to you for your advantage. So by saying, yeah, I'm not really going to work with theatrical first release directors, we're good. We're all about streaming over here. I feel like you've kind of carried that torch as long as you can carry it, as far as you can carry it on its own. You've got to adapt, which is why the idea and purchase of Warner Brothers was going to be a step in the right direction. I don't know what the future is in terms of Netflix, because I feel like they kind of hit a stagnant point. Yes, they took away the password sharing thing, and ultimately people did pay the extra price and have paid additional for advertising-based subscriptions. And those were eventually good ideas. Sure, they made more money. Where do you go from there? What's the next big thing without screwing over the customer? And in an era when more people are opting to go out and enjoy life rather than just sit down and hit next, how are you going to overcome that obstacle? I don't know. But that's all there is to say about that. Our next topic here is actually going to be centered around the DCU. And this is not the biggest news, if I'm being completely honest. It's not a page turner that's just going to be like, oh man, like this is it. You know, they're going to start announcing this and announcing that and all that fun stuff because, like I said, we still don't have a Batman. We're barely about to get the Lantern series. Flash, I was going to say The Flash, not The Flash. Supergirl is going to be coming out to theaters pretty soon, which I imagine is going to do better than a lot of people were predicting back in the day. I think that a lot of people that were predicting what numbers it was going to do was based on previous audience attendance, theater attendance. With the increase of theatrical attendance by Gen Z and young adults and millennials in kind, I predict Supergirl, I'm going to say it now, I think Supergirl has the potential to do more than Superman did. I'm not going to guarantee it. I don't know if I were a betting man, would I put $100 on it? No. Would I put a nickel? Sure. I do think that it is a possibility, but it's going to be based on word of mouth. It's going to be based on how good really is this movie. And will that rush of audiences, if this thing is front loaded, will that rush of audiences go out and tell all their friends and go back and watch it again? I say yes. I think Superman did roughly, I'm going to guess about 620 million, something around there. I am going to safely say that Supergirl will get to 400 million and maybe potentially get really close to that 620 million. And if it does pass it up, it's going to pass it up, but not by much. It's not going to overshoot it by 100 million. But I think it could have the potential to hit that $600 million mark. I could be way off. This movie could come out and not bomb. I don't think it's going to bomb. I think that this movie could come out and maybe just do 400, which would be great still. But I don't know. That's my opinion. Anyways, the point I'm bringing up the DCU, and I got carried away there, is not Batman, not Supergirl, not The Flash, not Cyborg. We're talking about Wonder Woman. And no, it is not going to be Gal Gadot who will be playing this role again. That has been already addressed. Not going to happen. That said, what is going to happen is a prequel series on HBO. And what I think is a really good idea is that they're going to be presenting it as a prequel series based in Themyscira, almost in the style of a Game of Thrones type of series. I would say, well, if you're any other network and you're trying to say that, oh, we're going to do kind of like a Game of Thrones thing, I'd be like, okay, sure, whatever. You're not, oh, wait, you are HBO. you could pull this off. This definitely has my attention. So the idea of a prequel series based in Themyscira, uh, about the time before Wonder Woman, has attached new writers to it. Potentially, I believe, showrunners in Kira Snyder, who was who worked on The Handmaid's Tale and another series called For All Mankind, and Janet Lynn, who worked on Bridgerton season 1. They are officially listed by the WGA as writers attached to this project. So James Gunn hasn't actually come out and confirmed their roles publicly, but because their presence in the WGA site, that pretty much strongly indicates that they are going to be, and we can probably see an announcement, look forward to an announcement going forward. So why is this important? Why is attaching writers to this important? Well, because it doesn't mean that the series is dead in the water, because we hadn't really heard much about it since those announcements back, I don't know which con it was, but it was of the Gods and Monsters chapter. This was one of the items that was announced. Clayface wasn't announced. That came out of nowhere, and that comes out this October. So I didn't want it to be one of those things where, okay, Clayface looks good, don't get me wrong, that's pretty cool, but I was really looking forward to this series. So to hear that they've now will be, maybe not officially, but for all intents and purposes, more than likely will be announcing these writers, tells me that this project is continuing to move forward. And I think that that's something to look forward to. And I don't think I actually said the name of the series, but the name of the series is going to be called Paradise Lost. What say you about this news, Matthias?
Yeah, this is one of those to where I was hoping to hear something back, because I know it was initially, I think, back in 2021, 2022, where, like, yeah, the first chapter, Gods and Monsters, that James Gunn introduced for his, new DCU at the time. There was a lot of projects that we had lined up. I mean, I think we had The Authority was one of them as well, too.
Yes.
A standalone Amanda Waller show was I think supposed to also be in the pipeline. So it is one of those things too, where like they were certainly trying to set up a timeline for things that for people to expect, but so much time has passed, of course, made even more difficult because of the WB buyout as well too. So a lot of these projects that we probably were excited for a couple of years back may not be may just be up in the air or totally gone at this point. So to hear something like Paradise Lost, not necessarily 100% sort of saying like, hey, yeah, we have a full production, everybody's involved, at least having a sense that it is in sort of extreme development, as they put it, I think is important. And to have something to where you're kind of akinning it to Game of Thrones, that holds weight, I feel. If you're going to, introduce this world, and have it be a fantasy setting, just like, Game of Thrones, and, why not? Why not sort of kind of get that intrigue up, and why not tap into that fan base there and like, okay, well, it's Game of Thrones, but in the world of Themyscira, which I love the lore behind Themyscira, and I love the whole aspect of Wonder Woman as a character. So I feel if they can pull that off and do that right, I think they could really have a hit on their hands. And I think there's a lot of people that want to naysay this. Is like, well, how do you introduce a concept to people of like, oh yeah, this is the place where Wonder Woman, is from, but she's not going to be in it. It's like, well, how does anything work? It's like you have to start from somewhere. At the end of the day, you wouldn't have thought that something like Game of Thrones would be interesting, because it's like, oh well, it's a book series and all that stuff. Of course, there's people that follow it and that are interested in it, but having to do that translation from written word into visual media, it's something that works and sometimes that doesn't work. But they got the right people involved for it. They got the original writer as well too involved with it, and there you go. You have Game of Thrones, which is still talked about to this day, for for better and worse. In some cases, a lot of people have some strong feelings about its last season.
Yeah,
but no, I'm excited for this, and seeing someone like Kira Snyder and Janet Lynn involved in this as well too, I think that also adds a little bit more weight to it as well too. I mean, The Handmaid's Tale is a fantastic story. Bridgerton, I haven't checked it out myself, but I mean, I've had enough friends talk to me about it to where I kind of almost know it by proxy. So I understand its impact as well too. So I think this one could be one of those that really works and that surprises people. Of course, still in the pipeline, doesn't mean that we're not going to have Wonder Woman show up in the DCU at all. We, of course, have Anna Nogueira working on the screenplay for that.
Mhm.
who is also, writing for the Supergirl film as well too. So
Yep.
I think a lot of what the reception will be for Supergirl when it comes out, at the end of this month, that's probably very much going to involve what sort of aspects we're going to see from that into, a standalone Wonder Woman film, which I'm excited for regardless. So yeah, I guess we'll see. Hopefully this one, I think it'll be, if I had to maybe put some time to it, I think it'll probably come after Man of Tomorrow, if I had to guess or something, or we'll probably hear around the same time Man of Tomorrow comes out that we might have maybe something a little bit more, I guess, concrete with this. I feel.
I would agree with that. I mean, and then you mentioned a good thing there too. I mean, with Man of Tomorrow coming out, we've got. I'm not gonna lie, it's been feeling like a bit of a dry spout here because I want to fall into the DCU, and right now the only thing we really have to go off of is Superman, which I didn't really love. I wanted to love it. I really wanted to. I ended up liking it, which isn't a bad thing. I mean, it's still successful. It was a good foundation piece. I think that going forward, there's going to be a lot to build off from that, which is really cool, and I look forward to seeing what that looks like. But now we're starting to see things come together. We're seeing the Lantern series. We're seeing a Clayface movie in October. We're getting notes of this Themyscira Paradise Lost series. We are going to be getting a Man of Tomorrow film in 2027, and Supergirl, not to mention, of course, coming out this month. So, oh, and then and Creature Commandos. That was the thing that launched everything off to begin with, was Creature Commandos. And actually, in mentioning Creature Commandos, there was also a character in there that was introduced that, from what James Gunn has told us, everything that is in Creature Commandos will eventually, I don't know about everything, but most, if not everything, will end up having a live action appearance at a later date. So with that said, one of Wonder Woman's enemies named, or villains or nemesis, Cersei, is in there, has been introduced. So I don't know how this Themyscira series is going to end. If I had to guess, it will end with a brief introduction of a young Wonder Woman. And I don't know if this is going to be something that, I don't know if James Gunn is like, yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go with season 2 of these episodes of these series, like the Lantern series, or is this Paradise Lost gonna get a sequel series? And if they do, then I feel like you're gonna end up with a young Wonder Woman at the end of it. But if you're looking to, well, no, I guess you could still do that. I was gonna say, because if you're looking to introduce Wonder Woman, then you kind of gotta have to have her already older. But I mean, you could just continue the prequel series. So, once people love her as a character in the movies, they probably are more motivated to go back to the prequel series, I guess, and follow up, I guess. I don't know what their method of release is going to be for this, but if I had to guess, they would end that series with the introduction of Wonder Woman. But there's a lot going on right now with the DCU. So hearing this news helps to just add more momentum to carry them forward, because the Supergirl movies is going to be, I think, really a fun ride, to be honest. I think it's going to be a fun movie. After that, I'm going to say it's, of course, the Lantern series, but it's Marvel's year right now, because they're going to have Spider-Man Brand New Day, and then they're going to end the year with I want to say Doctor Doom. Is it just called Doom? What is it called?
It's Doomsday.
Doomsday. You know what it is? I'm getting confused because technically Doomsday is another character in the DCU or the DC. So I was like, wait, is it Doomsday? I was like, wait, is this? Anyways, I was like, Doctor Doom. But yeah, Avengers Doomsday is going to be coming out this December. Those are two really heavy hitters. So I think that any momentum that is gained with the DCU is going to kind of be a little overshadowed come these releases, especially with Doomsday. But I think that though their momentum will be diminished a little bit, it's not going to be brought to a dead standstill. They're going to continue to move forward. But hearing little things like this help to keep them in the picture, because the last thing you need is 6 months and no word of anything happening. I venture to guess we could potentially be leaning towards, we'll probably get, you know what, here's a question for you with this. Do you think that we're going to get a cast announcement of Wonder Woman in the DCU before we get an announcement of Batman?
I want to say yes. I think they're playing really coy with Batman and all that stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
That I think, like, yeah, I don't think we'll hear anything about him soon. I think we'll hear something much sooner about Wonder Woman exactly. So how soon? I don't know. Maybe, again, like I said, I feel that Paradise Lost is going to be something that probably is going to follow up from Man of Tomorrow. That's what I'm thinking, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. I honestly think that they're going to be saving the reveal for a Bruce Wayne or a Batman until later on down the line. I venture to guess that we are going to get an announcement for a Wonder Woman before we get a Batman, but we'll get a Batman announcement before we get the introduction of characters like the Flash and whatnot. I think that'll be coming along the pipeline. Maybe the next episode we can talk again about who we think, as time has gone on, will end up taking the mantle of Batman, as well as who we think might be taking the role of Wonder Woman. But if I had to guess, well, not guess, but if I had to kind of go for an out there suggestion, no, it's not Nicholas Hoult, because he's already playing Lex Luthor. I think that Bill Skarsgård would be an interesting choice for this world's Batman. He's already proven that he can handle action. Dude's, I don't know, 6'10", basically. I don't know. And he's already shown as well that, you know, he can put on the muscle. So I feel like, and I also think that he could play a young Bruce Wayne, depending on what era they want to go with this, with Batman, as far as like what year he'll be in. He could be young, but he doesn't have to be too young. He's not going to be a year 1 or year 2 Batman. So I feel like he's old enough to kind of be right in the middle. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I feel like he would be an interesting choice. I don't know. Unless you have a suggestion already in your head, I'm not going to put you on the spot. Anybody come to mind?
Not really. I think, honestly, yeah, I think Bill Skarsgård is going to be a really, yeah, that's a very strong candidate. Damn. That beats any that I would have thought of. But yeah, I think yeah, you have something there.
Yeah. What about Casper Van Dien? No, I'm kidding. No, that was a good. I bring that up because you had a good suggestion for a Johnny Cage back in the '90s who could have played him, and I was like, you said Casper Van Dien, and I was like, damn, yep, you beat me. That was a really good suggestion. You know what? And I joke, but he could be. No, okay, never mind. It would be interesting to see him because he's an older guy now. So maybe he could play a version of a Batman in another universe. I don't know. But anyways, that's going to be all that we're going to be talking about that series. And we'll hopefully have more to report on that. Ideally, who's going to be casted. That would be pretty interesting. But with that down, that's going to bring us up to Paramount in the news. And Paramount is developing a brand new live action, wait for it, Transformers movie with the writer Jason Fuchs. Oops, I didn't slip. I was like, Jason Fuchs, I'm going to guess, is how you pronounce that name.
Yes. Yeah.
This is not exciting news. I lost interest in the Transformers world, unfortunately, because their last one, Transformers 1, it suffered a similar fate as, well, Dark Fate with Terminator. Terminator did Dark Fate. They brought back Arnold. They brought back Sarah Connor. It was just too little too late. It was a great film, actually, and it just didn't do well. I don't know if that's going to be the same thing with this, especially because Transformers 1 would have been the thing to reignite interest in this series, and it just didn't, unfortunately. Because if you haven't seen that movie, folks, it's actually pretty good. I recommend it. It's 100% worth the time. Matter of fact, if my nieces and nephews haven't seen that movie, or my niece and nephew haven't seen that movie, I think I might actually suggested for a movie night in the future or something, because that's a fun movie. I think that they would enjoy that. All ages can enjoy that film, but the one that I didn't really like, though, that came before that was Rise of the Beasts. It
Yeah.
just, I, yeah, it's like they keep, I don't know, it's like they keep trying the same formula or trying the same thing, and it just, there's no payoff. Uh, Bumblebee worked. Bumblebee was a good movie, actually, and rather than move forward with that, they digressed and did Rise of the Beast. But it is what it is. What's your interest level, Matthias, in another Transformers movie?
Well, what I was hoping for was something completely different instead of a follow-up to Rise of Beasts, which apparently that's what this one is going to be. Uh, if you remember anything from Rise of Beasts, which I doubt you do, it ended apparently with like a whole sense of like there's going to be a crossover with G.I. Joe because the protagonist, which I don't remember his name, nor do I really care, um, ends
It's
up like
Gary.
sort of ends. Well, are you kidding? Or
No, I'm kidding.
shut up, Damien. But ends up getting like a letter from the secret organization, and it has the the GI Joe like military logo or whatever. And like, are you kidding me?
Mm-hmm.
And in one way or another, like, sure, that could have worked in some wacky way. Like, I would have bought that, but with just, I mean, I don't know. Like, Transformers One had an idea. I feel like the trailer kind of gave people a whole sense like, oh, okay, this is just kind of like a stupid cartoon, with like modern day jokes and all stuff. But no, there's a richer story within that animated film, and I find it so heartbreaking that a lot of people were turned off by it from the word go. But yeah, I mean, hearing about this, I just really don't care. Honestly, I think they need to go back to sort of like how it was sort of presented back in the 80s and all that stuff there. They need to really delve into that sort of campiness to it and that sort of like fun aspect of like, yeah, I mean, robots in disguise. It's like they're literally, just different types of like vehicles and all that stuff that have robots in them. That's an awesome concept. Like, how do you screw that up?
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. And the whole fact that, Jason Fuchs is attached to this, like Welcome to Derry was a fantastic series. I think we talked about that at length, of like how much we love that. And it definitely, there's definitely a hole in my heart now that it's gone. Hopefully, we hear about season 2, hopefully soon.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's going to be busy. I mean, he has this apparently to work on. And then he's also going to be working on a My Hero Academia live action adaptation pretty soon as well too, which I'm honestly more excited about that.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, for me, this doesn't move the needle for me. I think they just need to give this franchise a break, like a really long break, and go back to the drawing board in a couple of years and kind of see what shakes out.
Yeah, and I know you had mentioned as far as like a potentially a continuation of that. I actually had heard otherwise, that this was more of a film that's not tied to the current continuity, but is supposed to be, which is weird because it says it's going to be some sort of a creative reset without a full reboot. It's like the movie industry just comes up with new ways to come up with difficult ways to just say like it's a reboot, it's a requel, it's a sequel, it's a prequel, it's a reset, it's like I don't know. So it's like they're not discrediting that still exists in the world, but they're basically kind of saying that this was, I don't know, maybe going to run parallel to that. Here's the problem with all of this is regarding, I think that if you do another film, number one, I think that you do need to just go back to the beginning. Don't do an adjacent reset, requel, prequel, running along the lines of this and that and the other. Just go back and start all over again. Hell, that's what the DCU did. That's what it comes down to. They saw that the Snyderverse was not working, and they finally just decided to pull the plug completely, pull it off life support, and just let it die and move on. And it hurts me to say that because I actually did enjoy most of those films. But it is what it is. And I think that is the same thing with this Transformers franchise. But here's the other thing is Data would be in favor of you're wrong, Damien. And why do I say that? Well, because Transformers 1, which came out in 2007, did $708 million. Transformers 2, Revenge of the Fallen, did $836 million. Dark of the Moon did $1.1 billion. Age of Extinction, basically the money the money just keeps piling on for these movies, and eventually led to a $7 billion franchise, basically. It's insane to think that, because on the one end, I'm thinking, well, these movies just haven't really been bringing in what they used to. But when it comes down to it, they actually are. I mean, like I said, these numbers aren't lying. The Dark of the Moon that I said that did $1 billion, $123 million, that had a budget of $195 million, which, don't get me wrong, that's a big budget. But look at that return. And then Age of Extinction even did some pretty big numbers. Which was another $1 billion film. The Last Night, though, that one sucked. I watched that one again, and I was like, man, this one was not good. It just dragged on. And you had Anthony Hopkins in there. I don't know how you messed that up, but they did, and it just it was probably the weakest one of the franchise, and yet it still did $602 million, just under what the first one did. Bumblebee is where you started to really see that drop off. They had it was $464 million. And then Rise of the Beast did $439 million. And then Transformers 1 did $128 million. Of course, the budget was a lot less because it was an animated one, but still, it's you see the drop. So if you're starting to see and reading this trend line going down, I don't think that your solution is, let's just complicate it and get general audiences to understand that this is a adjacent reset, and we're going to tell the story, but it's not really going to be connected to the other stuff. It's going to be its own thing, but it's kind of connected to the universe. Just start from scratch. Just do it all over again. Hell, tell the same story again. That was a good story. Boy discovers robots that help him and, helps them save the world, and then repackage these villains all over again. Here's the problem with that, though. I think that the biggest thing working against this franchise, whether you reset or whether you add another movie to it, is you need to reinvent how the CGI is with these transformations. Because if you end up doing it the same way, people are always just going to see, oh, that's the Michael Bay Transformers. And regardless of if this is a reset or a brand new thing, it's just an element that's present in that film that will always lead people in the back of their minds to think, is this, or interpret it as connected to the previous franchise, which really negatively impacts your ability to separate yourself. That's the DCU. That's why they didn't recast Henry Cavill as Superman, because they had to distance themselves from that and get that idea out of audiences' minds so that they could go into this with a brand new mindset. And I feel like that's kind of what this is with Transformers. If you go into this, you make the same sound effects and you make the same transformations and you hire the same company to do all that for the special effects in terms of these transformations and all of that goes along with it, I think that people will still continue to view it as part of a previous franchise. So I don't know. What's your opinion on that, Matthias?
Yeah, I mean, it does run into the issue of like, there's only so many ways you can kind of, reinvent the wheel with these sort of things. But I think the key aspect that sort of is always missing from films like this is just, it doesn't have that sort of aspect of it to where you feel like a child again watching them. Whereas you think about, Saturday morning cartoons and all that stuff, and that sort of feeling that you get watching those, does that translate well into like the more modern Transformers films? I don't think they really do. Are they their own sort of like action-packed spectacle? Sure, they are. They're good in their own right in terms of like how they are a more modernized and gritty version of those cartoons. But I think there's something to be said about sometimes taking a step back and not always thinking about like, well, how do we take this, sort of kid-like concept and then all of a sudden, make it more mature or make it darker or whatever. It's like, sometimes just leaving it as is completely fine. And I think taking that concept of like, just, even omitting, I think, the whole aspect of like, oh, boy or man or girl or whatever finds that Transformers exist or whatever and befriends them or whatever. I don't think the human element is so necessary really in the aspect of telling a story like this. You can, I mean, I feel like even though Transformers 1 didn't do so well, I
Mhm.
think if they had taken that story but given it a live action element, might have been different. I think there could have
True.
been something in there. So I feel like that's kind of one thing you could do with it. It's just honestly do a series that kind of focuses on their creation or their origins, outside of in the universe, and just kind of take it from there. Because it shouldn't be just left insular to where like, oh well, Earth is just the main thing that you should really be caring about. And it's like, no, go all the way back and you know delve into the origins of this a bit more.
Hmm.
So that's how I feel about that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they need to do with Transformers, but it isn't anything I think that they have planned. I feel.
Yeah, and the scary thing about all of this is He-Man Masters of the Universe just recently flopped. It's going to go on to
Yeah,
be a big flop, unfortunately. And this was one of my most anticipated movies for this year. And I'm sad to say I didn't go see it in theaters. Yeesh, shame on me. But for those of you
same.
regular listeners, know uh, my dog is getting better. She's healing. The swelling has gone down in her leg. She had some TPLO surgery. So she is managing just fine. She's on the road to recovery. That said, we're very hesitant to leave her alone. So, well, obviously we don't. So because of that, movie trips are canceled and all of that fun stuff. Well, all that stuff like going to the drive-in is going to be put on hold. Otherwise, I would have gone to go see, and my $20 difference would have made a huge impact on the on the net gain of He-Man. But I look forward to it coming to streaming, and if I had to guess, it's probably going to be in streaming next week, potentially the following week after that, at the latest by 4th of July. If anything, they should probably just do it for 4th of July weekend and try to cash in on that if they can, because I know people during
Yeah,
that time, why not? It'd be cool to have a great movie to watch. I will certainly be watching it. Hell, I might even buy it when it comes out just because why not? Um, so with that said, that's going to bring us to our last topic here, and our last topic involves a guy named Jonah Hill, Ice Cube, and Gambit, otherwise known as Channing Tatum. What movie am I talking about? Well, I am talking about none other than the 21 Jump Street franchise at this point, because if they go with this third movie, and if it does really, really well, I don't know how well it would do, but a fourth movie, if it does half as good as the first ones, would put it in the $1 billion club in terms of being able to say that this comedy franchise did that, which is a big deal, actually. That said, they're going to be apparently bringing forth a 24 Jump Street film, which some of you might be wondering what happened to 23. That's part of the gag. It's that meta world type of thing, being self-aware of itself. Oh, self-aware. Uh, that reminds me of the Austin Powers. Allow myself to introduce myself. With the 24 Jump Street joke is basically that 22 Jump Street, that for any of you that know, ended with just crazy out there parodies of what a 23 Jump Street would look like. So I'm willing to bet that they're taking that and they'll probably incorporate that into 24 Jump Street and just be like, I don't know, mention it in some way, shape, or form. And here's how I want them to mention it. Because, and I think that if they aren't doing this, they need to be doing this. Well, then again, I don't know if they would, because people only like me or Matthias here would probably be the ones who would remember that. A while back, there was news about a potential crossover between 23 Jump Street, I guess we'll say, and the Men in Black franchise. I don't know how that was going to work. It had my interest, and I would 100% have wanted to see that one for sure to see how it played out. But because of that, I'm wondering if they'll kind of put a little Easter egg in there and maybe show that in terms of 23 Jump Street. It's like, what happened? And then they put one of those like phaser things or something. I forgot what it was, the mind wipe thing to just make you, like, oh, you forgot all about it type of deal or something. I don't know. If they haven't thought about some way to incorporate that, they should, because I think that would be pretty cool if they did. You don't even have to get, Tommy Lee Jones or Will Smith to make a cameo to lower the cost. You could just have anybody come in dressed in black and the black suits and do that, realistically, because the Men in Black have many different members, many different agents. So it would be an interesting gag. Of course, it would be that much better if they did get Will Smith or something to make an appearance, or hell, even Chris Hemsworth, or I want to say Thompson is her last name. I want to say, no, I don't know. I could be completely wrong. Anyways, she played Valkyrie in Thor Ragnarok. Tessa Thompson, I believe is her name. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah,
Tessa
you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. She's I haven't seen her in any movies lately anyways. She's a great talent. I enjoyed her in the movie Creed. I thought she did really well. But in any case, that'd be cool if they got an appearance for that. I'm looking forward to a 24 Jump Street. The first two cracked me up. I mean, from everything about it, it's just to see the reversal, because it really does make you wonder, like, what would it be like if you went back to school now? Like, how would you be perceived in the ways that you were back then? Like everything from just, well, do I one strap it or do I two strap it with my backpack? Like things like that. And then seeing like not James Franco, Dave Franco come out and what is it? Channing Tatum is like pulls up driving his cool car, which, he wants to pick up right where he left off in high school, being, running the show. And he finds out that it's all about, the world recycling and caring about the environment and all of that. And he doesn't know how to react. He's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. This guy's a nerd, And instead of everybody like joining him and like, yeah, nerd, or like he thought was going to happen in his head, it plays out completely different. He gets singled out as like, it's like, yeah, man, what? You don't like the environment or what? What does that get? Like 2 miles to the gallon? And he starts getting picked on. Which that's not the funniest thing about this movie. If anybody hasn't seen this, is probably like, that doesn't sound very interesting, Damien. But if you've never seen these movies, do yourself a favor and just check them out, because Jonah Hill is great in it. Channing Tatum's awesome. They have such good chemistry between them. And then you top that off, an Ice Cube coming in. It's a great franchise, and I'm excited to see that they're putting another installment in this franchise. But what about you, Matthias?
No, I mean, yeah, this is one of those where I'm actually excited. And I mean, it also goes back into how we talk about comedies and how they're not really focused on lately. And you're seeing horror gets its sort of kind of like resurgence and its focus, starting nowadays. But comedy is still one of those to where, people are still kind of figuring things out in terms of what is funny, and like also in what way do we want to present comedies nowadays. And I feel, we talked about Happy Gilmore 2. I mean, doing fantastic, in the box office. We did talk a little bit about Scary Movie 6, which, I mean, I think it's doing okay-ish for the most part. But that's another kind of thing in terms of like, okay, well, what is the trajectory for comedies nowadays? And to have something like this, like 24 Jump Street, come about, or at least hearing news about this, I'm excited for that. And I think the other aspects of this that make it really important is that you do have Ronnie Rothman that's going to be coming back, who did the screenplay for 22 Jump Street, is going to be directing this. He not recently, but he did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which, good film in its own right. And then you have Phil Lord and Chris Miller coming in to produce this. So besides having, the original cast in it, you have, a good talent to kind of really like set the stage for this as well too. And with someone like Rodney Rothman, who was working with elements in Into the Spider-Verse 2, where it's like going into the whole aspect of like the multiverse and sort of seeing classic characters, but in different kind of environments and different timelines and stuff like that. And especially with how the last movie ended as well too, this definitely plays well into like, okay, well, what kind of wacky things are we going to see for 24 Jump Street? And I feel them leaning into that whole like, oh yeah, there's like an endless universe of different sort of like combos and all that stuff within this, is definitely going to do really well. So I'm excited for this. I think this is one of those that is going to be done right, with all the elements kind of put together. And I feel overall it's going to be interesting to see how this kind of develops a bit more. And, I'll never turn down a good comedy.
Same. And I'm hoping that it fares well, because as I'm thinking in my head, like you were mentioning, as far as horror getting its day in the spotlight, which I'm 100% thrilled about. I love it right now. It would be nice to see comedies kind of come back and make a big impact, like, like they did when they had what is it, like Judd Apatow, Paul Feig with his, like, Bridesmaids movies, and then Heat with Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock. To see another generation kind of start to take shape, because right now, if this happens and if it's a success, because Scary Movie 6 is I think, I don't know the numbers, but I think it's the biggest debut that it had ever had. So I'm willing to bet that it's probably going to win big at the box office. A lot of people are not reporting that they were particularly happy with this one. That it just, maybe some of the jokes didn't land. I don't know. Maybe it's that the jokes of the past were repeated and they just didn't work with this generation. I don't know if they did another one, would it be successful? The trailers made me really interested in it. Like, I thought it was going to be really good. I'm curious to see this movie myself because I am a fan of pretty much almost all of them. And I don't know, maybe it's just that type of comedy doesn't work well anymore. I know some people were citing the Naked Gun movie that came out. Well, that was a success. I saw that one. It was okay. It had its moments, but I thought it was going to be funnier, which kind of makes me a little nervous about Spaceballs Part 2 when that comes out, because Mel Brooks' other sequels with The History of the World, I think the sequel to that went to Hulu, I did not like that. I was like, this is not good. So I'm really hoping that Spaceballs is going to help me turn that around. But here's the thing. You're still getting an older the previous generation coming back and putting entries. This new generation has not really made their mark for comedy yet. They haven't really put that defining fingerprint or thumbprint on it yet, or signature, because like we've talked about before, the 90s had Mike Myers, the 2000s had Judd Apatow, the mid 2000s had Paul Feig, and then in between it all, we had Kevin Hart, other actors that have come out, and Will Ferrell, a huge impact there. We haven't really had a person come out and take this generation and lead them the way. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just people, I don't know, maybe what this generation finds funny can't be translated to a screen because it takes too much time to tell a movie to make it funny, and what I mean by that is reels. How many times have you sent a reel to your friend or this and that because it's funny, and it's funny in the moment, it makes me laugh. I've seen some that crack me up, but is it because people just don't want to laugh for that long or something? I don't know what it is, but I look forward to seeing how this develops. And with another entry in the 21 Jump Street franchise, I guess you could say, or whatever, if this becomes a trilogy, I want to say I have high hopes, but again, you're putting your money on a previous generation coming out and continuing rather than have a new mark be made. Not that I'm not going to enjoy it, I will. And if anything, I hope that it rallies other people to start, putting their interests in terms of making comedy films as well. But if they don't, it is what it is, and maybe the wait's just going to be a little bit longer. I recently heard that Mike Myers as well calmly approved or confirmed that there is going to be an Austin Powers 4 film. We'll talk about that in the next episode. So I don't know. This seems to be that to move forward, we're moving back. Whether that pays off, we're just going to have to wait and see. But all right, folks, and just like that, our time is up. But as always, we want to thank you all for listening to us, whether it be on your day off or your commute to work. We appreciate you taking the time to hit download or push play on your device. We also want to remind you, if you're not already, follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Second Way to Kill a Werewolf, where we encourage you to share your thoughts and opinions on the many, many posts that we put up. Also, if you enjoyed this show, be sure to share it with a friend. It really does help us out more than you could ever know. That said, I'm Damien.
And I'm Matthias.
And we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.